Do you know what it really takes to survive when the lights go out and stay out for days? Most people panic after just a few hours without power, running to stores that are already stripped bare or trying to charge devices that no longer work. But the truth is, your survival doesn't depend on electronics, gadgets, or stockpiling random supplies. It hinges on one critical principle that most overlook until it's too late. The first 5 days without power are a silent test. Water stops flowing, food in the fridge spoils faster than you expect, and the air around you seems heavier because the world has shifted into emergency mode. People who fail often make the same mistakes. They focus on staying comfortable, on trying to maintain normal life, and they underestimate how quickly the simplest necessities become impossible to manage. But those who understand this one survival rule not only endure, they thrive. They know how to prioritize, how to stabilize, and how to make every ounce of energy and every drop of water count. It's not dramatic speculation. History is full of examples. During the Northeast blackout of 2003, millions of people were trapped without power for days. Hospitals activated backup generators, communities improvised, and those who had a basic plan survived with minimal chaos. Meanwhile, countless others were scrambling, unprepared and vulnerable. The difference: one critical principle: preserving your core needs first, water, warmth, and nutrition in that order, before anything else. Most people think food is the first priority, but 5 days without refrigeration or running water is deadly, not because of hunger, but because dehydration and exposure to cold or heat strike faster than your stomach growls. Knowing exactly how to manage these essentials turns panic into action. It allows you to move with purpose rather than desperation. The key isn't hoarding or panic buying. It's a disciplined approach to what really matters. Every action, every choice, every decision is a small investment in survival. And here's the kicker: most of your neighbors, your friends, even your family members will ignore this rule. They'll squander resources, mismanage energy, or underestimate just how quickly normal life unravels. But if you internalize this, if you truly understand it, you gain the upper hand when chaos settles in. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today. The single life-saving survival rule that keeps you safe after 5 days with no power, with actionable steps you can take immediately. If you really want to survive when the world turns dark, subscribe now and learn what others don't dare to teach. Because by the end of this video, you'll know how to make the right moves from day one, and why failing to do so is a mistake you can never afford. By the time the sun sets and the lights stay off, your preparation, or lack of it, will determine everything. The first thing you need to understand is that water is life, and when the power goes out, it becomes your #1 priority. Even if you've got a fridge full of food without water, survival beyond a few days becomes a gamble you can't win. Tap water stops running, and municipal systems aren't designed to function indefinitely without electricity. That means every drop counts. People make the mistake of drinking more than they need early on, thinking they can use it up now and worry later. But that's exactly how dehydration sets in faster than you anticipate. The rule is simple but rarely followed. Ration strategically, start with small, deliberate sips, and collect every possible source of water around you. Rainwater, melted ice, even the condensation that forms on pipes or windows can be salvaged with the right knowledge. If you have any means to purify it, boiling, chemical tablets, or even solar disinfection, use it immediately. Contaminated water is a hidden killer. It can destroy your immune system in hours, turning a manageable blackout into a life-threatening emergency. Once water is secured, your next challenge is heat and energy management. Without power, your home becomes a trap against the elements. Refrigeration fails, gas or electric stoves go cold, and even lighting becomes a critical issue. Many people instinctively turn on every lamp or generator they have, draining fuel or batteries within the first day. The smarter approach is far more surgical. Light only the spaces you need, conserve fuel, and create warmth strategically. Layered clothing, insulated spaces, and even clever use of blankets and furniture can create microclimates that protect your body from hypothermia or heat stroke, depending on the season. Nutrition is critical, but not in the way most people think. Your body can survive several days without food, but if you've mismanaged water or exposed yourself to extreme temperatures, food won't save you. It can even become a liability if it accelerates dehydration or attracts pests. This is why the priority sequence is crucial. Water first, temperature second, food last. When you do eat, Focus on high-energy, non-perishable items that don't require cooking. Think nuts, seeds, jerky, hard grains, foods that provide calories without straining your limited resources. In the blackout scenarios that have played out across history, from natural disasters to grid failures, those who understood this triage survived far longer and with far less stress than those who didn't. They didn't panic. They didn't waste fuel or water. They followed a disciplined approach that made every decision count. And here's an often overlooked factor: mental energy. Staying calm, focused, and deliberate is as important as any physical preparation. Panic causes people to make irrational choices, opening the fridge repeatedly, wandering outside in unsafe conditions, or consuming resources too quickly. By training your mind to operate under scarcity, you conserve both your physical and mental reserves, turning potential chaos into manageable steps. The difference between those who collapse after 3 days without power and those who are still standing at day 5 isn't luck. It's knowledge applied with precision. It's knowing exactly how to secure water, protect yourself from the environment, and ration what you have. And once you master these basics, you create a foundation that allows every subsequent survival step, food preparation, hygiene, security, to build on a stable core. That foundation is what keeps people alive when the world refuses to cooperate. And without it, even the best survival kit is useless. But knowing the principles isn't enough. You have to put them into action immediately before exhaustion, fear, or mistakes set in. Once you've stabilized your water and temperature, the next critical aspect is food, and this is where most people get dangerously complacent. It's easy to assume that anything labeled edible or non-perishable is safe, but in blackout conditions, common survival foods can actually turn against you. Refrigeration failures cause bacteria to multiply rapidly in meats, dairy, and even pre-cooked items. Canned goods, while more stable, aren't immune either. Bulging cans, dents, or rust are silent indicators of potential contamination. Consuming these without inspection can lead to severe food poisoning, and in a situation where medical help might be delayed, that can be fatal. The principle here is simple: inspect, verify, and prioritize. Rotate foods based on perishability, and when in doubt, leave it out. Many seasoned survivalists keep simple test kits or rely on very basic rules of smell, texture, and visual inspection to avoid catastrophic mistakes. Meanwhile, energy alternatives become a quiet, life-defining factor. Without power, every action consumes energy. Your own, your devices, your backup systems. People often underestimate just how much they rely on electrical conveniences until they're gone. Small solar chargers, hand-crank devices, or even carefully rationed batteries can extend your options significantly, but misuse them, and they're gone within a day. This is why planning, sequencing, and discipline matter more than stockpiles. Knowing when to expend energy, when to conserve it, and when to improvise is the difference between lasting 5 days and reaching the point of desperation. Security also becomes paramount. As food spoils, water runs low, and frustration grows, the risk of theft or conflict rises. In historical blackout events and disaster zones, people who ignored basic safety measures, locking doors, maintaining visibility, or securing critical resources, paid a steep price. Maintaining awareness, using physical barriers strategically, and keeping a low profile can prevent unnecessary confrontations. Hygiene is another silent killer. Without power, bathrooms become a hazard, waste management deteriorates, and disease spreads faster than many anticipate. Improvised sanitation solutions, like portable toilets, waste containers, or even simple separation of refuse, can drastically reduce the risk of infection. This isn't just about comfort, it's about survival. Every detail matters, and ignoring even minor risks compounds into life-threatening situations. By day 5, the difference between a person who has applied these rules and someone who hasn't becomes stark. The prepared individual operates with precision, avoids foodborne illness, conserves energy, and maintains safety and hygiene, all while keeping mental composure. Those who fail, they panic, waste resources, and make themselves vulnerable to illness, injury, or worse. Survival in extended blackouts isn't glamorous. It's methodical. Every meal, every movement, every decision must be weighed against the consequences. The key is that once you understand this, you no longer react. You plan, you execute, and you endure. And here's a truth few want to admit. Even a small mistake in judgment, a single lapse in discipline, can escalate into a cascade of problems. That's why understanding these principles now, before a crisis hits, gives you a clear advantage. The world doesn't pause for mistakes, and when the grid goes down, every oversight costs real time, energy, and potentially your life. The question isn't if challenges will come, it's whether you'll be ready to meet them. By mastering water, heat, nutrition, energy, security, and hygiene, you turn what seems like a hopeless situation into one you can navigate with control and purpose. But there's still one critical area most overlook that can make or break your survival after day 5, and it's one that requires both strategy and foresight to manage effectively. By the time you reach day 5 without power, the situation transforms from immediate survival into strategic endurance. The early panic fades, replaced by the real test. How efficiently can you stretch resources, protect yourself, and maintain both physical and mental health? This is where long-term thinking separates survivors from victims. Energy management becomes the backbone of every decision. You can no longer rely on quick fixes or temporary bursts of power. Generators, batteries, and any remaining fuel must be rationed with extreme precision. One small misstep, running lights unnecessarily, overusing a generator, or draining a battery too quickly, can cascade into hours of darkness and exposure. At this stage, alternative energy sources take on life or death importance. Solar panels, even small portable units, can provide enough power for critical devices, radios, water purification systems, or emergency lighting. Learning to prioritize what deserves energy and what can wait isn't just efficiency, it's survival strategy. Meanwhile, food consumption requires careful calculation. By day 5, your body's caloric demands and hydration needs intersect in ways most people underestimate. Eating high-calorie, nutrient-dense foods in measured portions is critical. Overeating early on might feel like a temporary comfort, but it accelerates fatigue and increases water consumption, resources that are already strained. Knowledge of shelf-stable nutrition and creative rationing methods becomes essential. In some extreme cases, even foraging or salvaging from unconventional sources can provide vital calories, but only if you understand what is safe. This is where a lack of preparation can be deadly. Eating something toxic or contaminated isn't a gamble, it's a certainty in a poorly planned survival scenario. Psychological endurance becomes equally crucial. 5 days of darkness, uncertainty, and isolation can erode the strongest mind. Panic, despair, and indecision are the invisible enemies. Maintaining routine, setting small goals, and conserving mental energy is as important as managing food and water. People who succumb to fear or stress make fatal errors. They overexert, waste resources, or abandon safety precautions. Communication, even minimal, can sustain morale. A battery-powered radio, messages to neighbors, or prearranged signals can reduce isolation and help maintain focus. Security, often underestimated, remains a pressing concern. Resource scarcity breeds desperation, and knowing how to secure your home, maintain visibility, and minimize risk without drawing unnecessary attention is critical. Improvised barriers, awareness of surroundings, and careful monitoring of entries are subtle yet life-saving measures. Hygiene, which seems secondary in the first 48 hours, now directly affects your survival. Disease spreads quickly in confined, unpowered spaces, and poor sanitation accelerates the collapse of even the most carefully rationed plans. Simple measures, cleaning hands, separating waste, and managing food scraps, drastically reduce risk. By this point, the individuals who survive aren't those with the most supplies. They're those who understand the interconnection of every action. Every sip of water, every calorie, every watt of energy is a calculated investment. Every decision considers immediate safety and long-term sustainability. And here's what most people fail to grasp. The blackout isn't just an event. It's a series of cascading challenges, each amplifying the last. Those who thrive don't wait for problems to escalate. They anticipate, adapt, and execute with discipline. The reality is brutal. A single overlooked detail, contaminated water, poor insulation, wasted energy, can unravel 5 days of careful planning in hours. But when you understand how to synchronize your survival priorities, resources, safety, and mindset, you create a self-sustaining system that outlasts the chaos. And yet, even with perfect management, there's one critical survival skill that ensures you can continue beyond these first days, a principle that almost no one considers until it's far too late. That skill, when mastered, dramatically shifts the odds in your favor, turning uncertainty into control and fear into actionable strategy. By now, after 5 days without power, you've already endured what most people would describe as unbearable. Yet survival isn't about enduring discomfort, it's about leveraging every advantage to stay alive. And that brings us to the single survival skill that eclipses all others: resource prioritization under pressure. It sounds simple, but mastering it separates those who merely survive from those who thrive. Every decision you make, what you eat, how you use energy, when you expose yourself to danger, is part of a continuous calculation. Misjudge even slightly, and the consequences compound faster than you can react. One classic example comes from natural disaster zones where blackout conditions lasted a week or more. Individuals who rationed water too conservatively often found themselves dehydrated. Those who overused fuel left themselves in darkness. Those who organized, assessed, and adapted constantly were not just surviving, they were moving forward, expanding their options, and maintaining control over a situation that was rapidly spinning out of the ordinary. This skill isn't theoretical. It requires observation, discipline, and immediate application. You constantly monitor remaining resources, adjust priorities based on changing circumstances, and make proactive moves instead of reactive ones. Mental acuity becomes as vital as physical preparedness. The longer the blackout lasts, the more your body and mind adapt to scarcity, and your survival depends on your ability to think clearly, resist panic, and make the smartest possible decision at every juncture. Improvisation also plays a crucial role. No plan survives perfectly intact once the grid goes down. Maybe your generator fails, maybe your water supply is compromised, or a sudden storm puts you at risk. Being able to innovate, turning ordinary items into tools, repurposing supplies, or finding alternative food and water sources can mean the difference between life and death. People underestimate this. They cling to conventional methods, refusing to adapt until the crisis has already escalated. Security remains a constant concern. After several days, desperation can emerge in unexpected ways. Protecting what you have while avoiding unnecessary confrontation is a delicate balance. Subtle strategies, like controlling access points, monitoring movement, and being unpredictable, keep you ahead of potential threats without wasting energy on unnecessary conflict. As the blackout stretches on, hygiene, mental endurance, and energy management intersect in ways that require constant attention. A lapse in any area has exponential consequences. A single neglected hygiene task can lead to illness, a mismanaged ration can deplete calories or water, and an error in energy allocation can leave you vulnerable. But the ultimate insight here is this: survival after day 5 isn't about heroics or luck. It's about disciplined, informed, and continuous management of everything in your control. Every ounce of water, every bite of food, every watt of energy, every minute of attention must be accounted for. And when you internalize that, you gain an almost tactical advantage over the chaos that surrounds you. By this point, most people will have exhausted mental and physical reserves, making them reactive, fearful, and vulnerable. But those who apply this principle systematically are calm, decisive, and increasingly confident. They've created a framework that allows them not just to survive another day, but to plan, adapt, and endure indefinitely until external support arrives. And there's one more level of preparedness: subtle, detailed knowledge and guides that go beyond the basics we've discussed. Understanding advanced tactics, hidden resources, and layered strategies can turn a survival scenario from precarious to manageable. And if you want to go deeper, you'll find in the description some guides and documents that can take your preparedness to the next level. Check them out when you're ready. But before that, there's still one final block to bring everything together, tying the principles into a cohesive survival blueprint that makes extended blackouts not just survivable, but manageable. Now, after everything we've discussed, it's time to integrate these lessons into a single cohesive survival strategy. You've learned that water is paramount, that managing temperature and energy can make or break your endurance, and that food, security, and hygiene require constant attention. But survival doesn't stop at knowing the rules. It's about executing them with precision every single hour. Think of it like a system: water first, then temperature, then nutrition, all monitored continuously and adapted to circumstances. Energy must be rationed meticulously, mental focus preserved, and improvisation applied intelligently. Every day without power becomes a calculated exercise in foresight, observation, and discipline. Small mistakes, draining your battery unnecessarily, skipping hygiene, misjudging food safety, compound into serious consequences. But by internalizing these principles, you convert scarcity into control. You can navigate uncertainty, protect your resources, and maintain both safety and mental clarity. The power of prioritization cannot be overstated. It is the invisible framework behind every decision, the reason some people endure blackouts with minimal stress while others crumble within days. And even beyond day 5, this framework guides every choice, whether to expend energy, how to manage leftover food, or how to improvise solutions when conventional methods fail. In extreme survival scenarios, knowledge becomes your most valuable currency. The more you understand and can apply, the further you extend your ability to endure. That's why learning the hidden details, mastering subtle strategies, and constantly assessing your environment is not optional. It's mandatory. Every blackout, every failure of infrastructure, is an unannounced test of human ingenuity and discipline. You either adapt or succumb. And the good news is, with the right knowledge and approach, adaptation is not only possible, it becomes your advantage. The individuals who thrive in these conditions are not superhuman. They are deliberate, calculated, and prepared. They have internalized the rules, practiced restraint, and understand the cascading consequences of every choice. And you can do the same. It starts with understanding the principles, continues with disciplined execution, and expands with experience and advanced knowledge. If you act now, by observing your surroundings, securing resources, and mastering these tactics, you transform uncertainty into a manageable system. You move from panic to preparedness, from fear to informed action. And as you continue building your knowledge and refining your strategies, there's always more to learn, more ways to improve, more safeguards you can put in place. That's why, for those ready to go deeper, you'll find guides and documents in the description that provide step-by-step instructions, checklists, and advanced survival strategies. They're designed to expand what we've covered here, giving you an edge that few others will have when the power goes out and the world demands endurance. Remember, survival after 5 days with no power isn't about luck or heroics. It's about knowledge, discipline, and execution. Every decision matters. Every action counts. And by applying the principles we've covered, you give yourself the best possible chance to not just survive, but to emerge from the darkness prepared for whatever comes next. Don't just listen, act. Like, comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it before it's too late. Because the difference between preparedness and vulnerability is knowing what to do and acting before it's too late.